For the rest of you, welcome back. If you're on our database and here regularly, hopefully you'll have received an email from us this week. Is it a bit loud? Am I a bit loud? Just keep going. Asking for stories about what the Lord has done this last year with you through and in and around Epsom Vineyard. You won't believe how happy this morning makes me, and thinking back as well over what's happened since we first met together here. Many of us first met together here in October-ish. It's just such a blessing for me to see what the Lord has done with us as a church family, as a church community, and bringing people to come and share that with us. Many of you actually either came as your first Sunday to meet with us in October when we first started meeting here, and quite a few of you have joined us since then, so it's a wonderful thing. Some people have written down some stories which we're going to celebrate later, but as you'll see from behind me, it's Celebration Sunday. Not that we've ever done one of these before, I must admit. And in essence, I just wanted to share some of, instead of me saying, we've done this, 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 and you going, oh, that's amazing. I wanted to make sure we heard from a few of us this morning to share some of those stories of what the Lord's done in us, with us, through being here in church together. Last Tuesday, next slide, Nick. Last Tuesday, Lorna and I celebrated 25 years of marriage. There you go. I know what you're all thinking. Lorna's hardly changed, and who's the man with her? Is that it? Yeah. It's fair to say I've not weathered quite as well as Lorna has. It wasn't a sympathy thing, it was just a thing. Fact. And I must admit, we've not been great at celebrating our wedding anniversary over the years. Probably the best one prior to this last one. At 5 years, we went to Barcelona for the weekend. That was quite cool. By 10 years, we had 2 kids. We went to a B&B in Malham in Yorkshire for a couple of nights, I think. By 15 years, I think we managed one night away at Chatsworth, which was just down the road from Lorna's parents. So we could literally drop the kids, go to Chatsworth for a night, have a nice meal, come back. There you go, job done. Apparently for our 20th, it gets worse. Apparently for our 20th, we just went out for lunch while the kids were at school. Yeah. So based on that, I had a lot of making up to do. Simon's, yeah. For our 25th wedding anniversary, not this, it was our 25th wedding anniversary on Tuesday. The week before, we went to the Champagne region. If you're on Facebook with us, you'll have seen some lovely pictures of what it's like. Why am I sharing this as part of a sermon? This isn't me going, oh, isn't it nice? We've been married 25 years. There are many, it is slightly, but there are many things in life which I'm making up for. There are many things in life which are worth celebrating. And usually it's the things that we give our largest sacrifices to, the things that we appreciate the most. You can take the picture off now. You just come back to the normal slide if you want. Yeah, nice as it is to be reminded how young I used to look. I remember chatting to my work team. My other job is in events. So I remember talking to them a few years ago, just kind of that annual review. And I asked the question, what was the kind of the hardest event you did, the things you struggled with the most over this last year? And they all focused more or less on one event. It was the biggest event of the year. It took the most time. They all talked about the longest hours, the stress, the planning, and every single element of it that was difficult, was tricky, that it pushed us all to our limit almost. So we talked about that, and then I said, well, what was your favourite event over the year? What were the things that you really enjoyed? What's the ones you really enjoyed? And they all said the exact same event, and I had that moment of going, I didn't expect that. That wasn't so. But it's not because they're all sadists. They love a challenge, and therefore that they want the sense of pain or something. I don't know. It was the sense of pride that we get when we sow into things, when we sacrifice into things, and those are the things that we often want to celebrate because we get a huge amount of personal we feel an awful amount of personal achievement from that. So that stuck with me. The things we give our most to are often the things we get our greatest sense of achievement from and self-worth, ultimately. And I think that's just because how we're made. So hold that thought. I'll come back to it later. We celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary, not actually because probably our marriage is one of the things we've sown our most into over those 25 years. It's not always been easy. You've got to raise kids. We started business. We planted a church. And Lorna's got to put up with living with me. There are certain things that make life more challenging, things you give to. But each of those things that have caused challenges, I've been really grateful for this week, because as I've been reflecting, I've gone, actually, the amount of memories that come out of those times have been, just make it all worth it. So I also wanted to talk about how we celebrated our wedding anniversary, just to put a picture into why we're celebrating here together and why we're celebrating what the Lord has done with us as a church family over the last year at Epsom Vineyard. And you might be going, well, not every church does this, and I'm pretty sure most churches don't do this morning. So you may be asking that question, why are we celebrating those things? And ultimately, I'll unpack it in a minute, but ultimately because Jesus celebrated. If you read one of the Gospels through, just in one sitting, you'll see there's a pattern. Literally, one moment, one chapter he's in Galilee, and the next chapter he's walked all the way to Jerusalem, and then he goes back again, and then he goes back again, and then he goes. Every time he's in Jerusalem, it's always connected to either a feast or a festival. He's going to Jerusalem to celebrate. Okay, so if we just flick through very quickly in John's Gospel. So just remember, John was one of the people that walked life with Jesus. He literally wrote down what he saw. So John 2, Jesus is turning water into wine in Galilee, and then he travels to Jerusalem to celebrate Passover. John 4, back in Galilee via Samaria, where he met the woman at the well. Great story there. Chapter 5, he's back in Jerusalem to celebrate another one of the Jewish festivals. He heals a man who's been lame for 38 years by the pool of Bethesda. And then he gets into trouble, of course, because he healed him on a Sabbath, and that's bad form. You can heal on any other day of the week, it seems, but not on Sabbath. Chapter 6, he's back in Galilee, feeding 5,000 people. Chapter 7, he's back in Jerusalem for the Feast of Tabernacles, which is the one where they all camp out. He teaches there about the healing he performed at the pool in Bethesda. And he gets into more trouble because now people start calling him the Messiah, and everyone else goes, you can't call him the Messiah. And there's a quote there from... Anyway, we'll leave that. Chapter 10, he's back in Jerusalem for the Feast of Dedication, which now gets referred to as Hanukkah. He's in trouble again for being called the Messiah, and he starts teaching. And this is what he says. Next slide, please, AV team. He says, do not believe me unless I do the works of my Father. So the point here, the interesting point, I've kind of flipped backwards and forwards, and there's a few miracles in there, and he's healed people. We often talk about those things as miracles. Jesus describes them as the works of my Father. What a beautiful and accurate description. His last visit to Jerusalem is in John 12, where he goes to celebrate the Passover feast. He got into trouble, so much trouble that time, of course, that it led to his literally being killed by the authorities. But of course, that leads to the greatest work of my Father that was ever performed in Jesus' life, that of being raised from the dead. Ultimately, that's the main reason that we're all here and we would all identify with church in some way, shape, or form, is because Jesus was crucified and rose from the dead as an act of love for me and you. But that's another sermon for another day. Okay, so if we take that backwards and forwards thing and try and understand what Jesus did, what was the pattern there that you see throughout that backwards and forwards? And how is that linked to celebration? So Jesus goes to the temple in Jerusalem and he celebrates. And he's always celebrating something that the Father has already done. So the Feast of Tabernacles, that's celebrating something that happened for the Jewish people. Each of those feasts, the Passover, it's celebrating something that the Lord has previously done. After each celebration, you often see then Jesus perform a work of the Father, a miracle, or in the Vineyard, we often refer to them as signs and wonders. Things that point to God. And then after he's done performed some form of miracle, work of the Father, he often gets in trouble. And it's something that it's a pattern I hadn't necessarily understood until I kept reading this backwards and forwards. There's a celebration, there's a miracle, and then there's a bit of grief afterwards. So what do we get to learn from this? So Jesus, good Jewish boy, was always going to celebrate. It's part of how he was brought up. If you read through the Bible, the Old Testament is full of those regular celebrations, the feasts, the festivals, and it's so important to Jesus that journey from Galilee to Jerusalem is about 100 miles, and he had walked it. It's not like jumping in the car. It's not like flying. It's a walk. It's an adventure. But he does that many times each year. These feasts, these festivals are reminders to Jesus of the works of his Father that his ancestors had seen. But it's more than that, because it allows Jesus to understand who he is. It gives him a context that says, I am Jesus, I am Jewish, and my forebearers saw the works of my Father. They celebrate how God saved them, how he fed them, how they celebrate repentance, they celebrate receiving forgiveness, they celebrated thankfulness. And if you need to have a reason to celebrate today, how about we just go back to we celebrate because Jesus celebrated. All right, that was point one. Point two, when Jesus celebrated, this is an interesting one I hadn't seen up until this point. When Jesus celebrated the works of my Father, they were multiplied. They happened again. So he celebrated what happened in history, and it happened again in the present. So you celebrate the Lord moving in history, and then he gets to heal someone who'd been lame for 38 years. I figured that was pretty cool. For those of you who are parents in the room, did you ever worry about the foibles or quirks or your fears that you pass on to your children? This is the same as that, but the opposite. This is about passing on. This is about everyone's going, I don't have foibles. How dare you? This is the good things, the goodness of who we are, the good things that we pass on to our future generations, not just to our kids, but our grandkids. That my mother's humour, I can see in her grandchildren a little bit. She's very eccentric. When we bring this back to the works of my Father, that's the thing that we want to pass on. That's the thing that Jesus is passing on by celebrating and then doing it again. So we celebrate because we want to multiply the works of the Father across our church family, and indeed to Epsom and beyond, to everywhere we live. All right, third thought. When we celebrate and we see miracles, the works of our Father are often accompanied by troubles or grief. Do you remember that thing at school where if you did quite well, your parents would go, oh, well done, really good. They'd celebrate you. If you did really well, all your friends would give you grief. Was that just me? I grew up north. Grief is a form of endearment of some level, but not always. Jesus ultimately did so well that he spawned the largest movement of people that ever existed. There's been no greater thing across history than Christianity. It's the greatest number of people ever that have done anything. And we've seen slightly, as Epsom Vineyard has grown, we've seen little backlashes because of that. When God moves, somebody gets upset, and it's not the Lord. So the only thing I'd like us all to agree this morning is if we do ever celebrate the works of the kingdom, that we don't give each other grief, and if we start receiving grief from wherever it comes from, we encourage each other that it's worth it. The works of our Father are always worth it. So, without further ado, the email I sent out this week, I've invited some people to come and share. Robin and Penny, I think you're up first. If you would like to come up, that'd be great. Penny, there you go. I just wanted to share. In fact, I tell you what, I'll come down there for you. Actually, come up here to start with. Say again? Say again? Yes, we're good at the minute, and then I'll come down in a minute. So, you shared a lovely little story with me about coming to Epsom Vineyard. Would you mind sharing it with everyone else?
Absolutely,
Thank
not a
you.
problem. Hi. So Robin and I were looking for a new church, and we knew about the Vineyard, so I messaged Duncan and Lorna and got a reply and were invited to come along. As we walked in, the very first person that we saw was Geeta, who gave us the most amazing welcome, and Gopal and the family. So immediately we felt welcome. I've got shivers now already. So, and just through the whole service, we felt the Lord's Spirit was here. And at the end, Duncan came up to us and, again, welcomed us and everything. And I think it was Robin that actually said, we just really feel the Lord's Spirit is here with us today. He's in the room. And, yeah, it's been here every week since, so thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I think the words he used was something like, we need this. And I loved that. I loved that. Can we give a round of applause? Thank you. Anyone else who sent me a message in the week, if you want to come and kind of queue at the side, I might just pop down actually. Emma, do you want me to do it? I'll do it. It's fine. So Emma sent me a lovely message. Some people like standing at the front, some people don't. It's fine. I'm just going to read out Emma's one, if that's all right. She said, this time last year, I was wearing PPE, working as a midwife, stressed, tired, and unsure if I could carry on. Fast forward a year, as into current, and God graciously relocated me to a school, meaning I always know when I'm working. I get the weekends and school holidays off. This means we can plan. We've also been able to start a life group and start the Epsom Vineyard Church socials team. I feel like God was honing me, training me, exposing me to different situations, creating me into the role he has now put me in. Plus, last week I was promoted in that role to now be in charge of a very small department. I continue to lean into him, to trust him, to allow him to gently guide me along the path he wants to walk with me. But I'm forever thankful to him. And shared two scriptures, which I should have pulled up, and I haven't got them ready. But Jeremiah 29:11 and Proverbs 16:3. Who wants to go next? I might come down so that it's easy for everyone to share. Gopal, do you want to come up? Do you want to come up, Gopal? Gopal is very kindly sharing on Geetha's behalf. Shall I hold the mic for you? Is that easiest?
Yes, thank you.
There you go.
That's why I'm reading rather than speaking from the heart. Geetha was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in December 2020. This was probably due to a hysterectomy she had in 2012 when they discovered endometriosis cancer in the womb. Last year she received chemotherapy and radiotherapy treatment at the Royal Marsden. While Geetha was an inpatient at the Marsden recently, she was eating supper quickly because Duncan and Lorna were coming to visit. She was preparing to go off to the day room because only two people were not allowed to meet next to the bed. But God prompted Geetha to talk to the lady in the next bed who seemed to be in pain. She said to her, I hope you don't get offended, but I'm a Christian. So please can I pray for God to take away your pain? Geetha was shaking, and she couldn't believe what she was saying. The lady she asked was thrilled, and she said yes, and added that she was disappointed that her vicar hadn't come and hadn't been in touch. It's amazing how God uses his people. Geetha is so very grateful to our Lord for revealing himself to her and showing her what he can do. There is another testimony, which is a much longer one, which relates to Geeta's return from America when we attended her niece's wedding. She became ill in America, and God was with her every step of the way as he brought us safely back home. So Geeta knows that she's said this before, but since moving to Epsom Vineyard, the Lord has really allowed her to grow as a Christian, and she wants to give thanks for that this morning. And I will certainly echo that sentiment as well. So thank you, Duncan and Lorna.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gopal. Thank you, Geeta. It was awesome. Geeta was almost shaking where she was like, I just prayed for someone. It's really exciting. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Who else would like to come up next? Jay, do you want to? Here we go. Big round of applause for Jay, please. Would you like to share the little story you shared with me?
No.
Cool.
I had a private conversation with Duncan. He was asking me how I was, so I told him some things, and he then came back to me with, you wouldn't share that, would you? So the next time you ask me how I am, I'm just saying fine.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine. Yeah, understood.
Stop it. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I didn't want to come here. I was at another church. Stop it. I was at another church that we weren't going to, but we hadn't officially left, so we were in limbo. And Laura, my wife, said, you don't want to go there anymore. Stop it. So you go and find somewhere else. And I didn't, and I faffed about, and I did lots of other things that were completely pointless and made no difference to anything because I was in limbo. And you know something, but you have to admit it to yourself. And Laura and I were having a discussion, we'll go with discussion, about it. And I just said, I haven't gone and found somewhere else because I don't want to. And you admit something to yourself that you know, which is weird. If you know it, how do you have to admit it to yourself? And that was really quite releasing. And I knew about this place, and people had been saying, you should go to that Epsom Vineyard place. And I went, no. And friends who may have been at the other place or other places who had come here, and the answer was just no. It was like, no, I'm not doing that. And stop it. So we came in October when you started meeting here. Didn't want to. Didn't want to be here. Didn't want anyone to talk to me. I kind of am a bit like that now. I'm a bit grumpy. I'm a bit belligerent. I can be a bit sour because being in limbo was comfortable and I knew what that was. It didn't actually achieve anything, and it started then to spread out into other bits of my life where everything was just limbo. I'm now taking things out of a container and putting chairs out, which is something I vowed I would never do again. And this place is great, and coming here has been really refreshing. People leave churches because of other people. And people may well go to another church and feel welcomed because of other people. And you have to be on the right side of that equation. And there are some lovely people here. It doesn't mean there are some unpleasant ones. It just means I haven't met everyone yet. And that has been so refreshing. And through that, I get this tap on my shoulder from God, who's there always, just tapping on my shoulder. And the answer he's getting, stop it, is no. But I'm trying to work on that and having conversations with some of you lot, putting chairs out. I quite enjoy putting chairs out. Is just really helpful. And it's been trying to get out of that limbo which achieves absolutely nothing. And it's just because this place is lovely. Some of you are lovely. And I really needed that, even though I can be a bit sour, and the initial response that you might get is no. But there's obviously a lot of stuff still to be unpacked about that. So thank you. And yeah, there we are.
Cool, and thank you for sharing. Thank you. Bless you. Gord, you want to come down? Gord, you want to come chat? Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you, Jay. It's not, not always easy to share those things, but bless you. Thank you for trying. Thank you for sharing. Gord's got notes. Look at that. Fantastic. This is Gordon.
Hello, hello.
If you put your notes the right way up,
Yeah,
there you
thank
go.
you. Yeah.
Fantastic.
You're an expert, yes. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for asking me to share a little bit. I have brought my notes because this is what I emailed you, and I kind of, when you talked about this Celebration Sunday, I sort of, I thought about it, reflected on this year, and I kind of wrote down, I distilled it exactly as it sort of was, so I wanted to read it out. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to express my gratitude and share some of the amazing stuff the Lord has put in my life this year. And I have to say, the best thing that's happened is coming here.
Cool.
Wow. And making every day...
Was it the donuts?
Pretty much, and the coffee. And making EVC my home church. So what happened was, kind of late last year, I talked to Ian, and Ian mentioned this church to me, and I kind of put it in the back of my mind, and I was looking for a church to come to in Epsom, and then another friend mentioned it, and I really just thought that was God leading me here, because I only live around the corner anyway. So I came here, January 23rd, and as Jay said, first time I came here, I just really felt at home. Just the most amazing welcome, and I have to say, being taken to the Haywain for Sunday lunch kind of welcome meal, just really amazing, Duncan. Seriously, little things like that, that really touched me. It really touched me. And soon after that, so I am in so many WhatsApp groups with this church.
Sorry.
Which is good, which I'm okay with, which is great. And so one of the things was we got a men's social WhatsApp. And soon after I came here, somebody organised a meal. We went to the Grange, which was just great. And again, it's all about relationships with each other and with people. And so... all this year I've been building up my relationships with different people here, with yourself and Lorna and the life group and the different groups. And I have to say I have not experienced such a loving and supportive welcome as I had here. That is the truth of it for me. So also at that time, I think it was January, maybe February, Lorna was doing the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And I really liked that. That was a great series. And what I often do is make a few notes here from the sermons and then go back and look it up, YouTube it or whatever. And I did. I got into John Mark Comer from that, which was great. So also you introduced me to the life group. Brilliant experience. Because Sunday ain't really enough. Sunday really isn't enough. I talk to friends all week, and I say my prayers all in the morning and during the day. But the life group has been great. And also I've been really privileged to play in the worship band, which I love. I love the worship so much. And the fourth Sunday community runs. Yeah. Brilliant. Just, again, I have not been in a church where they have a
running WhatsApp
group. So that was brilliant. And every week I just feel I get to know people a little bit more. And hopefully people kind of get to know me a little bit more. So this year I prayed quite a lot early on in the year, and this happened. But also I've been truly blessed in that I've been able to take the summer off work. And And I thank God. Also, I've done a number of things, so I like to keep active, do physical stuff. I thank God for giving me the strength. I did the London to Brighton walk, 100 kilometres, 6 weeks ago, 24 hours. And also, I was stewarding a few weeks ago at the gathering, the CVM event, and I forgot how much hard work it is, actually, when I steward, because that's the first one since 2019, but just brilliant. And 80 men gave their lives to Jesus on the Saturday night, which was just awesome, just an awesome event. It was brilliant, yeah, it was really brilliant. So I've been blessed. I've done all sorts of training, and I'm in a position where I help other people with emotional difficulties, and my speciality is substance misuse stuff and different addictions. And
Helping people with their substance abuse and addictions.
yeah, thank you. Yes, yeah.
There you go. Just for the live stream.
Yeah, thank you.
Go.
So yeah, and I know actually I got a number of addiction issues myself. I'm many years into my own recovery, but so I've been on both sides of the fence, and I've been really blessed that God has put numbers of people in front of me in my path this year that I have been able to help, and so I put the legwork in and leave the results up to God. You know, I've been truly blessed. The glory is all God's. That much is what I want to say. And He rescued me. I often share this in meetings that I have been truly rescued. That is the truth of it. By giving my life to Jesus. Jesus has been my salvation, without a doubt. I probably wouldn't be here today without, Jesus in my life. And so I have to say, one day at a time with Jesus in my life, all things are possible.
There you go. Good, thank you. Brilliant. Lynn, fantastic. Could you give Lynn a big hand? For those of you who have noticed, she's got 2 matching shoes this week. No boot on. All is good. Do you want me to hold the mic?
Yeah.
Will that be easy? You go now.
Okay.
Cool.
It's just a short one.
Nice and close.
Short one from Alan and me. We thank God for bringing us to Epsom Vineyard. We've only been here a few months. I think it was March. We feel very much at home here. The welcome was wonderful. And we come away each week and say to each other, wasn't that great? The worship really brings us into God's presence. The teaching is both encouraging and provoking, and everyone has been so warm and welcoming. And I remember hesitating to take on the hospitality role, a team role, not long after we joined, and Gita saying to me, "Don't be silly, you're one of us now." We wish we had moved here earlier by following the Lord's prompting over the past couple of years. However, we appreciate God's loving patience with us. We are excited by Duncan and Lorna's encouragement to explore and pursue where we feel God is leading us, and opportunities to demonstrate the Father's healing love, both within the loving and inclusive community that Epsom Vineyard is, and hopefully beyond. In this, we hope to be a blessing to EVC.
Fantastic. Thank you. Please do. Mike, did you want to come up? Nick, did you want me to share, or do you want to share your bits? I'll let you think. Big hand for Mike, please. Good with that. Can you tell everyone what you told me about Community Sunday?
One of the reasons that I really wanted to be a part of this church was because this church is in the community. I've had the privilege of being a member of many churches, but this is probably the first church where the church really focuses on being a part of the community as well as being in the community, rather than being inward looking and looking at discipleship and pastoral within the church. It looks out, and we have one Sunday the last Sunday of the month, where we go out and we do community service. Now, the community service that has been officially organised, if you like, has tended to be towards this side of Epsom, or towards the Yule side of Epsom, or running. I'm not great with running. And I was kind of a bit unsure what to do. So I thought I'll just pull together a few neighbours where I live, because I live in the Leatherhead area, so it's the other side of Epsom, if you like. So one of our neighbours is particularly difficult. For 20 plus years, he's been inflicted with addiction of drink and drugs. And the community in my road, whilst they're quite a close-knit community, tend to avoid him. And I felt that it was wrong to do that. I felt that we needed to be a community. Like this church, we need to be in the community if we're going to be effective. So I spoke to a few of the people within the community and I said, let's go clear his garden. So his garden, when I say it was overgrown, I mean, you couldn't see the size of it. The growth in it was over 10 foot tall in places. There were trees that had sort of been planted a few years ago and had grown out of control. There was no light going into the house at all because of the amount of growth in this garden. So we came together for a few Sundays and we cleared that garden.
Amazing.
And he couldn't understand why, and that doesn't matter. You know, we try and chat, and that's a process of time. That's just a process of sharing God's love. And some of the neighbours couldn't really quite get it. And again, that's a process of time and just sharing that it's more than just a good deed, that we're doing it because we're sharing God's love.
Thank you. That's awesome. Cool. And Nick's just going, would you give Nick a big hand as well?
So I completely forgot about this, and I didn't realise that Duncan was going to ask if I wanted to come up, and I've been frantically searching for what I sent to him, and I can't find it. So I'll do a little bit of ad-libbing.
Cool. There you go.
Yes, I got it. I think so. So one day I was sitting in the bedroom, waiting to go to church in the morning. Not this church, the last church. And I was just like, I don't know, exhausted and tired. And I just said, God, the next church plant that comes along, please let me go on it. And I went to church that morning, and Duncan and Lorna, it was announced that they're planting a church. So I said, God, do you want me to go to this church plant? You know, but it was such a wow moment. And I was so excited. And we joined Epsom Vineyard, and it helped me to do a lot of things that I always wanted to do, and I felt I couldn't do them in a bigger church. And in a sense, I think I was most probably hiding, but anyway. So a lot came out of me in this church and I got a lot of confidence to do a lot of different things. But what I found I really appreciated most was the sense when you're in a church plant, it's difficult. And all kinds of stuff gets brought up into you. And what I felt God was doing with me was just helping me to have humility, you know, and obedience, because I never was a humble person, I never was obedient, but he taught me the value of that, and that's what I've really got out. And you know, and I think of what Duncan and Lorna did. If they wasn't obedient, we wouldn't be here now in such a great, amazing church. So that's what, you know, I got.
Cool. Nick, thank you. Put your hands together again. Thank you so much. And I bet you now, some of you who didn't manage to send me the thing through, you're probably going, I wish I'd have sent something through. And actually, of all those stories, I could probably give you at least another 2, 3, 4 times more of that. But I just wanted to give you a snapshot of some of the things the Lord is doing in us, with us, through us. so that we get to celebrate together, not just our own things. It's easy to celebrate our own things. You go, oh, thank you, Lord, for whatever, the parking space. But we get to celebrate each other's things too, and we get to see a little bit of who we are as a church community, as a family. It's important. Worship band, would you like to come up? Everyone else, if you'd like to stand up. And we're going to just, we've got a few more songs of worship. I'll remove that. Which just gives us all the opportunity. I'll pop it down here. There you go. I think that was the right height. Just gives us all the opportunity, again, just to give thanks back to the Lord. So, over to you.
Well, God really got me through those talks. Tears. I think it's just wonderful to hear how God can be moving in people's lives, and especially for me, once you have a very busy week and you think, oh, Sunday morning I could just sleep in and have a nice rest, and actually by the time I get here, all the negativity that has been growing in my heart over the week from all the stress, it gets blown away. And hearing everyone speaking, a lot of the time people say, oh, can you feel God's presence? Sometimes I can't, but when people talk, and it just, you can really hear God speaking through the words. So I want to thank you all for encouraging us with all of that, and let's take this time to stand before God and worship Him and praise His wonderful name, and think of all the things that, whether we say out loud, or just thank God for all the things that He's done in our lives, through the things He's done through us and through others, and to others, and also encourage us if there's anything that He wants us to do in this coming week, even in this coming day, that we just bring our open hearts to Him.